I was like, what did I agree to?
A tape recorder from the 80s. Bring it back to life.
Flying his airplane using his iPad, his GPS and Google Maps just to land it.
He has met at least 3 ghosts in his life.
Today's number is 3. 3 people half a year ago decided to build this podcast. And today we're recording episode 10. Hooray! Woo. So to make a small celebration, this is the chance for our guests, for our audience, to know a little bit more about us, because I think it's always important to know not just the technical or professional opinions, but where you're coming from. It will be an opportunity for all 3 of us to ask questions to each other we never managed to ask somehow before. It could be personal, it can be as personal as it gets. Be mindful we're on air, so if somebody is going to overshare, we're going to cut it out, or we're going to leave it in just to make it a little bit more fun. So we have 3 people, everyone is going to ask questions. So who wants to go first? Because I have a few questions too.
Let me tell a quick funny story first. I think it's funny. I mean, you guys might think it's funny. I don't know about the audience. So the way I actually ended here talking to you guys being on this podcast was that I saw Vlad or met Vlad in at MVP Summit earlier this year, and we were at Joey's at Bellevue for some drinks.
Joey needs to get MVP just for the fact that every single MVP event happens there.
To go to Summit
it's
as
huge
Joey.
Huge contribution.
So it was in Joey, the music's blasting, and it's like Vlad's asking me, do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, well, sure, I can record a podcast. And I didn't really think anything else of it. It's like, yeah, I'll record a podcast. I got something to say always. Then a few months later, Vlad reaches out to me. I was like, "Hey, so let's start this podcast of ours." I was like, "Sure. What do you want to record?" Well, we'll record, then and then. And only then it hit me. It wasn't for a single episode. It was to actually like to be a part of the crew, the whole thing. I was like, "What did I agree to?" But it's been a lot of fun, and that's one of the funniest miscommunications that I've ever had.
So everybody listening in, Antti has not wanted to be here since after episode 1. He was only expecting to be a 1 episode wonder, and since then we've just held him hostage.
So I think I can tell the story how it came about. Do you remember? I think I met Areti. It was 2 years ago, a year and a half. I honestly believe that Areti is one of the best manager in our community who has one of the best skills. Everyone has a lot, but Areti, I think, is really can be distinguished from that. And when Areti mentioned she's a delivery manager, it actually struck me because I was looking for some ideas to create, because there is always need for something to be done outside of technology world. And I was talking, that struck me and said, "Hey Areti, what do you think if we make a delivery podcast?" And we were on search for the 3rd person, because in 2 it's a little bit hard. I did it in 2. It was not that easy. And I'm glad, Antti, you decided to come for a single episode.
And then stayed for the rest.
Stay for the rest.
So glad you stayed.
Yeah. Let's talk about us a little bit more. So just to let our audience know where our perspectives are coming from. So who wants to ask first question? Because I honestly, will you let me to ask first question?
Yeah, go on then.
Maybe, Antti, I would love to know how Finland childhood looks like. I had so many interesting things about Finland childhood and how children, what's their growing up process goes. And if you can tell me not just maybe about your history, you don't need to go into all details. You can miss the bits you want to miss. What means to be a child in Finland?
I think there's a fair amount of freedom to do things, run around, not, you don't have to be too worried or scared of getting kidnapped or anything like that. I think, the education system's pretty good. Kids in general get educated. The quality and the level is pretty high. I think Finland, I find it, I'd say stress-free. Nordics in general, it's not just Finland. I do have to give some credit to the other Nordic countries as well. Life is fairly easy, convenient. Kids have hobbies, the level of, I already said, education. There's no huge swings in different economic classes. We don't have a huge gap between the rich and the poor. Obviously it exists, but it's not, immense. It's stable.
So how is your homework looks like? What do you do? Because I'm sure it affects everybody's work, because our work attitude is prompted out school, I think.
Yeah.
How you do your homework. So do you have a lot of homework? I know in Switzerland, they have just 4 days a week, which I would be envious. In my Soviet time, I had 6 days a week going to school.
So I mean, kids kids go to school for five days a week, and I think I've actually been discussing this with my wife. We feel that we had back in the 80s, 90s, we had more homework than the kids have today. I think his school was harder for us. We could be that we're just dumber than our kids. That's possible as well. But I think we had more homework back then than our kids have now. So
they say Finland is the happiest people in the world. At the same time, I don't want to go there, but they say the level, I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, the level of suicide across teenagers is also high. What it actually means, how come, what you as a Finnish person think about it, how you navigate childhood, how does that affect work life?
I often wonder why Finland is one of the happiest countries in the world. I don't have a specific answer for that. Like, why are we happier than the Swedes or the Norwegians or the Danes? I honestly don't know. Maybe I kind of get looking at what the US and UK cultures are like, for example, that maybe I might have an understanding of why we're happier than the Britons or the Americans. And again, it's something that it's really hard to put into words, but having, knowing people in the UK, having lived in the US, I might have some sort of understanding why that is. Gosh, that's all I can say, really.
Yeah, cool. It's good to know.
I'm going to ask a question. So mine are a little bit more silly. Have you ever experienced a ghost? Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever had a spooky experience or not? So I don't believe in ghosts, by the way.
I have a double no. I'm dull in that sense. It's no and no.
Okay, so Antti has never been approached by a ghost. What about you, Vlad? Any ghosts ever approached you?
I'll tell you, yeah, so I also don't believe in ghosts at all. But when I was little, when I was a child, I was doing, I don't know how you say it in English. In Russian, it's chiromancy. So it's trying to tell people's fortune from their palm. And I was reading books about that. Literally, there are books about that. So then I was reading.
It's called, yeah.
What's the name?
Palm reading?
Hand palm reading. But I think there is a scientific name. It's actually, I think it's probably Latin, chiromancy or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, so in that point of time, I was very superstitious. And definitely, I don't think I saw any ghosts, but I wouldn't be surprised if I would meet a ghost at that point of time. And obviously with age, it's gone. So I got very skeptical, very cynical.
Okay, interesting.
And you?
Very interesting.
You, Areti, why are you asking this? Have you met? Was it a question by ghost?
So I've never particularly had the closest I came to was just once where I thought, oh, this is weird. I'm not alone here, but I am alone, but I'm not alone. I had that feeling once, but my best friend Nick, he is convinced that he has met at least 3 ghosts in his life. Now, my friend Nick is in his late 30s. He's got 2 kids. He's not a crazy person. He works for the government. So there's that. A little bit crazy. But he's a very normal guy, very scientific guy, does not believe in things like this. However, in his experience, he's like, I've met at least 3. And he's convinced, and he went on holiday recently to this Airbnb that he says was haunted. And his wife agreed with him it was haunted. And she's an even more realistic, science-driven person. And he was convinced that something was up. So I was like, I'm going to ask this question in case anyone else has had any.
So he needs to send me that address, or I would never go to that Airbnb.
Well, apparently lots of people, then they looked at the feedback on the Airbnb listing, and apparently lots of people said, oh yeah, like this place is haunted. Like we've had the haunted, like it's a thing, apparently. So they weren't alone in what they were thinking, but it's very curious. Very, very curious. But there you go.
Antti, do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I do. So I'm an 80s kid, right? It's a half serious question. It's not like 100% serious, but I kind of want to kind of deep down what I'm asking kind of gives a perception of where you're coming from, I guess, at least for me, maybe for the audience as well. So the question is, you get stranded in a Salesforce conference as your car breaks down in front of the conference center and you have to go in. Your car's broken, you've got nothing to do, you're going into that Salesforce conference. You don't have any options. Which of these are you bringing with you? A tape recorder to record everything they're saying so that you can hold them against them. A copy of Microsoft Docs on your tablet. An 80s edition of My Little Pony comic book, or an 80s edition of the Transformers comic book.
And that's the only choices, right?
Those are the only choices.
Can I just say that I love the fact that the first option is a tape recorder, as if like your phone doesn't have like a recording app on it. You have to bring a tape recorder from the 80s, bring it back to life.
I set the scene. I'm an 80s kid.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. A tape recorder. Yeah.
You're bringing your My Little Sony with you.
I mean, yeah. If you're gonna go 80s, you might as well go all in, right? That is what we need.
Right.
We need an 80s themed party in one of the conferences, don't we? Come as the best of the 80s. I miss the 80s. They were great.
I'm not a big fan of comics. I think having Microsoft Docs would be hilarious. Actually, I have it always on my laptop, so I don't need to download it. And the first one, what's the first choice?
So the first choice was tape recorder. Second was Microsoft Docs on your tablet. I'll give you, laptops a go as well. My Little Pony from the 80s or Transformers from the 80s, a comic book, not a toy, but a comic book.
Yeah, recorder would be definitely useful. That's for sure. I should have brought many of them to Microsoft events. I don't know what it means in terms of copyright, etc. But yeah, that's happening. So yeah, record definitely. Record is a good idea. Anyway, what do you think, Areti?
So I would go for none of the above. And I think I would probably just put my headphones on, get into the conference center, put my headphones on, chill, and just watch the people on the other side of the technology fence and just be like, oh, you guys. Yeah, I would just, when Antti first told us he was going to ask the question, I said, well, I'm going to go for none of the above, and I will just engage in corporate espionage just to make the best of my time while I was there. Get some intel from the enemy, right? From the other side.
That's exactly what I would do, Areti. Yeah, I think we probably spend too much time
I think
with
we're
Microsoft.
basically tape recorders, what we're saying. We would take our tape recorder and try to leave it somewhere, see what it recorded, come back.
And what I would do, I would go there and pretend I want to switch from Microsoft to Salesforce as a partner, and literally see what kind of onboarding, what kind of the vibe, what the things people were talking exactly, what people will tell me. Because it's exciting when they think they're selling something to you, they will tell you everything. Maybe not always the truth.
Well, first off, let me explain the answer is kind of what my brain's going through. That tape recorder is a curious mind, and it is corporate espionage. So that was I kind of gave already a backdoor for this. Microsoft Docs is just being rebel and saying, this is better. I don't want to hear it. I'm rebellious. I'm just going to stick to my Docs. My Little Ponies, naturally, I love unicorns. You don't need anything else. So if Chris Honeyford's listening to this, I know Chris Honeyford would have picked My Little Pony, which is fine. We love Chris. And Transformers is just about to roll out. That's it. What would be my choice? I would actually, I think it depends on the mood I'm in. But right now, if my car broke down, I would pick the Transformers comic book. Maybe tomorrow I'd pick the tape recorder, but for now, after the day, I would just pick Transformers and chill.
I have a silly question and a serious question for Areti. Areti, which one you want to choose?
Oh, you choose. I'm happy either way. I'll answer anything.
Okay, I'll take a start with a silly. What's the most Areti thing your friends tease you for? The kind of habit that would either save or completely ruin a project if we all copied it.
Oh, you mean like work habit?
Anything which you do, which your friends here, they tease you. And imagine Antti and I would pick it up, that habit from you. What it will help us or ruin our projects. What do you think?
I think I'm generally very organized and very tidy to a fault.
Do they tease you for that?
I don't think I get teased for that, no. But then again, if someone teases me about that, they wouldn't be my friend. So there's that.
What do you think people is fair enough to tease you for? I'm not giving any clues, ideas for people who listen to us, but kind of, what do you think?
I've been teased about it kind of by people that quote unquote pretend to love me, right? I get teased about, how small I am because I'm quite a tiny person. I'm 5'2". I'm quite little. So I get teased about that. Yeah. So I can get teased lovingly about that for sure. I think that's definitely one. Don't like it, mind you. I hate it when people do it, but they still do it. So I'm like, okay, well, it is what it is. I don't think there's anything that anyone would tease me about that they would actually find it useful, because I think if you find it useful, you wouldn't tease someone about it. But yeah, I'm very tidy, very organized. I tell really bad dad jokes that I think my team, particularly at work, just put up with it, and love you guys if you're listening. So yeah, I think it's just being tidy and organized, and sometimes I can take things a lot more seriously than most people would. So that's something I'm working on, taking things a lot less seriously and not getting so stressed out and worried and about it, seeing the lighter side of life.
I would never tell it. Maybe I don't know you that well. You come across as you wouldn't take things too serious if it comes to that. So serious question, actually. I need to be careful now with serious question then. What did your family model about work and care that you now bring into being both a mom and delivery lead? And where do you draw the line to protect your home, to protect work from home?
Like work-life balance?
I think
you
so,
mean?
yeah.
I think that's two questions in one, buddy, but I'll let you have them. So I think generally both my parents were very driven in terms of, both for me and my brother, kind of getting us very highly educated and making sure that we got the right basis on which to build our life. And particularly my mom very much believed on education and getting a good education that can set you up well for life. So I think I've taken that forward for more broadly as a general idea of get the basics right, and you'll be fine after that point. So don't rush through things. Don't try to get to the 100th step from the first step. Just go through the process and get a good basis upon which you can build. So I always try to make sure that, now that I'm head of delivery, that my teams understand the basics of who is the client, what have we agreed to deliver, what does the statement of work say, have they got the right skills and experience for the project, are they aligned, are they happy with what is expected of them to be delivered, do we have the right people around them to support them, does the project manager know what everyone is trying to get out of the project, what they're trying to achieve, what the client wants, and getting the basics done very, very well. And as a mom, I think the same for my daughter. So I've got a 5-year-old daughter. It's about making sure that she knows where her stuff is. She knows what she's supposed to do that day. No surprises, really. It's here's what you're going to do. This is where we're going to go. This is and kids generally, I think it's fair to say, they like to know what's happening, and if they expect something to happen, in structure, and if they expect something to happen and then that doesn't happen, depending on the age of the child and the temperament of the child, that's good or bad consequences. Mostly bad, because their expectations have not been met. So it's again kind of getting the basics in place, and it sets them up for a good day. So having that routine every day that they can depend on and it gives them that stability and that security.
So the fact that you've got that child or children in your life, what changed in your work attitude to make it very tangible? For example, if you have a stakeholder meeting, did you learn anything from managing children? Did it educate? Did it give you any lessons learned to manage sometimes stakeholders, or it doesn't have any impact, no relationship? Managing adults, managing children is a very different thing. I'm curious about your both opinion.
From my perspective, the interesting thing was that I see a lot of myself in my daughter. And what I mean by that is when my daughter wants to do something and she can't quite do it yet because she's 5 and she's trying to do something that 5-year-olds won't be able to do, she gets very upset, and it really gets to her that she can't do this thing she wants to do, and you can tell it really hurts her, and she has to try and obviously build up that resilience. And there are other things that will happen that really frustrate her, that they have happened, and I realize that I am much older and I still get that reaction. And I'm like, I completely understand why you are reacting the way you are reacting. I get it, because it happens to me now. Obviously, I have the emotional maturity that you would expect most of the time to actually handle that. And we all grow out of it, right? But I think it made me realize that initial gut reaction perhaps never goes away from when we are kids. And I guess when we're adults, you call it triggers. Things trigger us and we handle it because we are adults and we know how to handle it, and we know how to regulate our emotions, and we know how to breathe, and we know that, killing someone is bad, so we shouldn't do it. So we control ourselves. But it was interesting to me, when you're a kid, you need help constantly. So that's the thing for me. To answer your second question, which is with stakeholders and things like that, does it help me? I think it helps me understand that if this is happening to me, it probably happens to them too. And that when someone gets upset, you kind of, we all have that kid inside us, I think, that never really dies or goes away. And I'm sure psychologists have spent many years and many books and things and studies as to what happens with that child of us as we grow up. I'm a lot more empathetic towards people, but I also take work a lot less seriously than I used to. Still take my job and my role very, very, very seriously. But I have a better work-life balance now that I have a daughter than I did before. Still a bit of workaholic, not gonna lie. But it does give you perspective on life and what really matters in life. And the fact that, your job will replace you if you drop dead, but your kid can't replace you.
That's beautiful. Didn't want to interrupt. Antti, what's your take?
I think it's the same for me. That work-life balance is probably the biggest takeaway. Having to learn to live with the reality that after the work day, the kids have practice. We have to make dinner and head out of the door to drive them to their local swimming hall and then pick them up back. And that's life. So I can't oftentimes continue working till 6 or 7. So the work-life balance aspect is definitely a big change. As to working with stakeholders, I'm not certain that being a dad has necessarily changed the way I work with stakeholders per se. I think I am serious about what I do, but I try to not take things too seriously. Sometimes it works better, sometimes it doesn't. So I always like to joke a little, and I think that's what I try to teach my kids as well, not to be overly serious about things.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Do you have any questions you didn't manage to ask, just to share some reflection? While you think, I'm going to share my thoughts. I think what my child teaches me in a way, it's to be more compassionate to myself. Because what Areti, you're saying, so I've realized how much actually all these triggers, all this angerness we have inside us. And I'm the soft dad, there is a bad dad and good dad. I'm definitely a good dad. My wife doing a better job creating structure. And I've realized if I have compassion for my child, why I don't have compassion for myself as much? Because you can have the same triggers, the same questions inside. So I think it's teaching being compassionate. And I honestly believe we all live in 3 phases in our life. Initially, we're all these narcissists, we're small kids, and the world is for us. Then we're learning how to navigate, have friends and partnership. And then we're actually people who need to be altruists and deal with narcissism of your own child. So, and ironically, that's important phase of life. And without having children, I don't know if you will, maybe you can experience it without having children, but it's definitely an easier path. So any other questions? Because we managed to finish almost on time. We have 1 minute before we're gone off air. Anything else, guys?
I'll ask a question. When you go on a plane, what's your favorite seat, window or aisle? So I'm always window. If I can have a window, I will go for a window because I love a view. But also I don't need much space, and I know that some people prefer aisle because they have a bit more space. They've got a bit more, it's easy to get in and out and things like that.
So look, I used to be a window, and then for a period of time I didn't fly for long, and I got a lot of. I've been air phobia. I had this for a period of time, so I prefer to see at aisle. But now I'm back to window. And my son is usually bumping me out of the window, so I'm definitely. Antti, why it's aisle? What do you like about aisle?
I think it makes me more relaxed for some reason. I don't have a huge fear of flight, but I do have a small fear of flying, so I think it's just easier for me to sit on aisle.
Interesting. So I only have a fear of flying with long haul flights because you're on the air so long, and I'm like, if something goes wrong, especially UK to US, I'm like, there's a big freaking ocean that you have to cross. Although I know technically you don't because you go through Iceland and Greenland, and I don't know. There's something about long haul flights where I'm like, I just prefer a shorter flight. It's also more comfortable. It's a lot of hours to be on a plane, so it's a bit more comfortable. So I always get a little bit like, oh, I'm going to be on a plane for so many hours.
That's actually opposite. What I had, people usually scared of shorter haul flights, and long haul flights, they feel more comfortable because bigger plane, safer. They usually have 2 teams, they have a redundant pilot. I had a massive flight fear. I remember I was flying out once and I was literally saying goodbye to every person I knew, like that level of anxiety. So I was coming from that level to pretty much not having no fear at all, almost zero. I think everyone has a little bit when it's getting bumpy or whatever, everyone get a little bit anxious. So what helped me a lot, I had a friend who was completely out of blue, told me, do you want me to fly? He has a small plane. And he told, do you want to fly with me as a second pilot? Because I don't have anyone in the team. So I don't mind. And I actually, so that guy was nuts. He told all these weird stories, how his plane was out of radio and he was flying his airplane using his iPad as GPS and Google Maps just to land it. And he told his wife and family he once landed and he ran out of fuel literally when he landed. So he should have had longer fuel, but he decided to fly a little bit longer and save on the fuel. So the guy's a little bit nuts. So it was a fun experience. But the thing which I've learned, I was on the air listening to air talk, all the flights talking to each other, and they're so relaxed and chilled. It's like, I think even in therapy, even in the sauna, people are a little bit more anxious. This guy is so chilled and they know their stuff. And all this stuff combined together slowly gone away. And he told the next thing is actually to want to be a pilot. I don't think I'm there yet. But I definitely recommend if you have a chance, just go in the pilot cabin and it will trick something in your head that it's help. Maybe, and maybe it helped me, but I can say to everyone. But anyway, we're at time. Hope the story was useful. Yeah. So what do you guys feel? Did we learn a little bit about each other or it didn't help?
Oh, yeah.
And we ended with the message of face your fears, which is fantastic.
Yeah.